Well, I'm just going to sit here and pretend I didn't wish I had my hat.
All you do is complain about the weather.
I don't know.
You're never happy.
I don't know. I guess I don't think it's just one of these things. I just, I don't like being physically uncomfortable. And maybe it's a sensory thing.
Maybe.
It makes sense.
Yes.
Oh, it's Friday. I meant to, did I say that?
No, you just went into it just complaining.
It's Friday. It's chilly Friday. Chilly.
Not that chilly.
It's a chilly-ish Friday. It's got just a little bit of that. You know, the kind of cold that you get when you walk into a big stone building like a cathedral or something, and you have that it's just got an edge of chill to it.
It's 48 degrees out. I think it's okay.
No, there's something else there, but it's like that walking into a cathedral feeling. Any case, do you want to talk about our watches?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Sabrina is wearing dun 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 dun. She's wearing her Hamilton tank watch with a rolled gold case. Beautiful movement. Hamilton of this era, post-war, was exquisite quality. There was one grade of this movement up above this, but this is a pretty decent grade. So I'm glad to see it on your wrist. And I'm sorry, folks, I'm still wearing it.
Wow.
I'm still wearing it. It is, I started it again at daylight savings, and it's gained, I think, 8 seconds.
Wow.
I think something like that. However long daylight savings was ago. I just feel like I'm going to miss out. I get such pleasure every time I look down and see it and realize how accurate it is. It's really given me a tickle. It's a Friday and my coffee is not as hot as it should be. Where are the electric-powered boost things?
I'm sure they exist.
They must. You have a boost button on it right here, and you can just get it up to the point that you can get it right to where it needs to be. I swear, I don't complain about everything. I just notice stuff. That's the problem. And then I have to say something about it. I can't stop myself from saying it. I see the words. I see the entire statement in my head, like, burned across the inside of my brain, and it just has to come out. It's sort of psychologically painful to not say the thing.
Sadie and I joke that we don't know who complains more, him or Willow. When you get going, man.
She's around other people less, but when she's around other people, she complains more and louder. So it might balance out. She's 100% my daughter.
Yes.
100% my daughter.
Yes.
What are you gonna do?
Okay. My brain just broke.
Did it?
Well, because we didn't actually, do wrist check yet, literally do it, and he has no idea what watch I'm wearing.
Here, let me feel it. I know which watch you're wearing. You're wearing that Elgin tank.
It's not an Elgin.
What is it? Oh, it's a Hamilton.
I like it because it feels like I'm not wearing it. It's crazy.
Oh.
It's like the perfect shape for my wrist.
Yeah, I couldn't quite remember the brand. Yeah, Hamilton. That's a beautiful, beautiful tank watch.
Okay. Saul Brook. How is cornbread not an all-season delight? I can tell my story. I told him my story in the comments, but I can tell my story. I didn't make it for a while because I didn't notice that the cast iron pan I made it in was not cleaned completely. Thank you, Sadie. And that my cornbread came out tasting like teriyaki, and I was so upset I didn't make it again for, how long? A year?
It's been a long time. Because you were so concerned. You were so afraid.
What?
Is that Malachi yelling?
Malachi's in school.
I thought he was. Who am I hearing?
No, that's Malachi.
Weird. Okay. Well then.
Neighbor kid. He's loud.
Cornbread. It's good. We back it. So you know what's fun? We just recorded a huge chunk of the video without starting the camera. So if it seems like we know what the questions are, that's why.
Dear Spencer, my question today is regarding the nature versus nurture of watches. By that I mean, can training, or in this case tuning, compare with pedigree? For instance, we all know that you can tune a watch until it's humming like a well-oiled machine. However, when it really comes down to it, can a Seiko ever really compete with a Rolex? Is it possible for all the care and maintenance we give to an average watch to be in vain, especially if its performance is just going to default back to the sum of its parts? Thank you. As always, best regards, Seiko Purist.
Well, what you get out what you put in, right? I mean, I love my 1969 MGB green bean, and she is for sure an absolutely fantastic MG. But she's not a Ferrari, and she never will be. She's not an Aston Martin, and she never will be. There's certain levels of build that just aren't there.
Yeah, but how much of it is branding versus the insides? Like the branding of Rolex, people are like, ooh, it's Rolex, that's so cool, versus, the insides of it.
Yeah, no, I've told this story a lot. In fact, I told it just about 5 minutes ago.
I know, I'm having a hard time pretending I don't know this stuff.
Oh, well, you've heard this all before anyway.
Well, tell them again.
10 years ago or so, my great-uncle died, and my cousin-in-law found a couple watches in his sock drawer and mailed them to me to see if I could do anything with them. And they were both pretty badly damaged. One was an Omega Seamaster chronograph with the 321.
I almost put that on today.
Did you really? Mm-hmm. Oh. It's such a great watch. It has this crazy dial patina. That came because my great uncle, who is an extremely nice guy, he wasn't real nice to his stuff. The other watch was a Rolex 1016 Explorer from 1966, and he had just never taken it off, and they had a pool up there, and he flooded it with pool water, and he didn't do anything about it. He just threw it in the back of the sock drawer because it was dead, and didn't throw it away, and he left it full of pool water. And so I got it with the movement was this block of rust. I did actually perform. That was my first major miracle resurrection. I brought that watch back, and it has the original movement, not the gears, of course, but I still have it. But I had to get really intimate with Rolex. That era, mid 60s of Rolex, I had to get real intimate with it very quickly, because I had to. My learning curve was so steep because I was faced with totally new technology. Rolex jewels are nice and big and beefy. They're nicely smoothed. Their pivots are really well polished. And a Rolex movement of that era, you give some kick to it to spin the train over to see how it's going. And even you're just testing for and shaking everything, right? It's not lubed up or anything. I'm just looking at how it's behaving. And you kick it over, and it will roll to a beautiful slow stop. At the same time, I was doing work on a Seiko 6200 series, like in the 62 MAS. And I was pretty amazed. I had both of these mid-60s 17 jewel movements. The 15, 17, 17 jewels? Well, whatever. I had these comparable movements side by side. The only real thing that I could see that Rolex sort of had the edge in was the balance. Free sprung. So it's got no adjuster arm. You adjust the accuracy with all of the balance screws on the outside. Rolex uses a microstella system now. I mean, it's sort of easier to deal with, but there was a lot of care and machining that went into that, and it took a lot of work to tune that up correctly. But besides that, the Seiko was superior in a number of ways. It had better. I was just amazed at how solid the 6200 series was compared to that Rolex. And I have a video about it somewhere. And that's a relatively basic movement, the 6217. It's not like something world-beating like Seiko's lost, forgotten, orphaned 83 blank 6, 8345, 8346, 8305, 8306. Those movements are exquisite. They're really beautiful. Either the low grade of that movement is 27 joules. The standard grade is 30 joules. Swiss style automatic winding with reverser gears. It's a slow beat, 18,000 BPH, but so is the Rolex 1570. It was the same thing, big old stately hand clicking along like that. The 834, I mean, those are fantastic movements. They were only put in a few dress watches, really, and JDM, really. And most people don't know about them, and Seiko didn't continue making them. But they're insanely high quality. I had, for a time, I had this idea about having my own watch, building my own watch. I didn't want to use a new modern movement, and I was like, well, I wonder if there's a way. I considered buying every 30 joule A346 that I could get my hands on and building a watch around that specific movement, which is honestly is a great idea. That's a great idea, and I am an idea man, but I don't have the design skills in order to pull something like that off.
Kudos to anybody that knows what that's a reference to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody will.
But I think that said, whatever there might be any ups or downs in terms of quality, I mean, in terms of just their core build, they're all going to be roughly in the same level. And so maintenance on them is going to be about the same. I mean, my MGB, which I'm sitting here looking at here, there are certain things that will prevent it from ever being an Aston Martin. It's just the way that it is. But that said, there's going to be a lot of parity between a comparable era Aston Martin and an MG in some things. But once you get to the tech dropping down, you get to like a pin lever, or you get to a 7 joule or a 1 joule or a Timex, then obviously you're just not gonna. What are you laughing at? She thought I was rambling. I'm not rambling. I have a very specific goal in mind, and every piece of what I'm saying has relevance to the central theme, which is, can you tune a bad movement to be a good one? Mm-hmm. And the answer is yes, with enough time and care and replacing enough parts that it's not the original movement.
Yeah, I was going to say, at what point is it a different watch?
I don't know. It's all fun and games.
Biff Tannen BTTF. I never understood why Seiko put a quartz movement into the 600 meter diver. It's insane to have to pull apart the whole watch in order to change a battery every 2 years.
Well, my thought on that is, I guess so. I mean, you have to. Their point, I think, was that they went to the quartz movement because they believed in it. But their selling point was that you never had to worry that your dive gear was not ready for you. They weren't thinking about 3 years down the line. They were thinking about being ready right now. That's my take on it. I mean, you get like 3 years out of a battery, and yeah, it's a specialty process. It's a pain in the tuchus. It's, you've got to know some tricks of the trade in order to get that done without, causing any kind of problems. I mean,
so they were thinking of it as being a tool watch, not some person buying it because they think it's neat.
Yeah, well, the story goes that they got a letter from a guy who was a commercial diver, he was tired of dive watches that didn't continue functioning or broke down or whatever. He wanted a watch that could really take it. And so Seiko did a few things. They did the monocoque titanium case for the water resistance. They did screw down crystal to make sure you could to push a big heavy crystal into Seiko's revolutionary invention, the L-profile crystal gasket, which they invented specifically to get around helium getting into the case. And so they because like you have like a Rolex, a deep diver, whatever the larger one is, has helium escape valves and stuff like that.
Wait, where's the helium come from? I know nothing about diving.
Helium is an extremely small molecule, and it can make it with pressure. It can scoot through things that you would never think would be a gap. It can get through it. So Seiko said, well, why should we bother letting the helium out? Why don't we just stop it from getting in? And so that's what they did. So you got an L profile gasket sitting in a one-piece titanium case with a big Hardlex crystal, which is then screwed into place with a big old crystal ring, and a gigantic screw-down crown with a big thick donut of a single washer, single gasket, and that'll do it.
I wish I had a donut.
Boy, so do I. When was that donut that we got up at the farm store?
And Sadie got the same ones. It was okay.
I don't know, the Lamar's donuts, they weren't bad.
Of course not. I like them. It's just I wanted that super special. It was like a Portuguese donut from a food truck because we're big on food trucks here. And it was really good when we got it up at Jack's, but I don't know. When Sadie got it, it was okay.
Huh.
And I swear it was smaller.
And I'm sure the price wasn't any smaller. No. It was, how much was it for those? They were like custom-made filled donuts while you wait fresh out of the fryer.
I don't know.
They were like $5 or $6, I think.
I don't remember. MGAN8H, high S and S. I'm trying to revive a 7838 Royal Oak. The movement runs, but a small register doesn't move. I have a spare movement working great, so I can swap the coils, but I failed to check them with a miltimeter. How can I know which coil I should change? What function has each of the 4 coils? Thanks a lot, and thanks for your help.
Why don't I put in a segment about the 7As? I can sit here and blabber about it, but it might be easier if I just show it. Okay, first things first, you look at your technical guide. You get this by just, yes, I know it says 7828, but every question you have, even though yours is 7838, they only differ in the calendar. The coils and everything, it's all exactly the same. You can probably find the data sheet for 7838. All I did was Google 7A28A.pdf space Seiko. However you want to do that, and you come right up with it. You should get the one you want is the one that isn't just the parts list, but also the technical guide. Here are your 2 different coils. They have 2 of each, 2 of 725 and 2 of 726. The ends are just a little differently shaped. And you have, all your parts here, some that are common, some that are specific for this model, blah, blah, blah. See all the bits. There's all kinds of fun information here. And so let's look at our stuff. We want to look at check coil block, page 9. Tells you how to run everything, tells you what all the parts are. Shows the lubrication guide. How you're supposed to, the button seals and gaskets and all that happy stuff. Layout of the watch. There's that gear train. This main center wheel bridge right here, getting this one dropped in is so fun. All these wheels, stepper motors. It's just, putting this whole thing together is just bananas. You got your center wheel, small center wheel, identification stuff. Ooh, look at it, you got. And you can see your gear layouts for all the different gear trains. Now, you had asked, why does this thing have 4 coils? Well, it has 4 coils because it has 4 trains. 1 coil per train. Circuit block spacer. Okay, I'm still going downstairs. Oh, there you go. This is your trimmer, your adjuster. This is the style that the 7As use. You turn this inner bit, which is brass, and you turn it for upper and lower. This is the same exact tech that Seiko uses for their 9F quartz. Did I miss the checking the check reset? Coil block. I'm on page 4, page 6, page 8, coil block D. Here's the stuff. Oh, it's right there. There you go. Screenshot that. That'll tell you everything you need to know. Amazing technology. Just amazing technology. I was sitting around thinking about these 7As, and I grabbed this one. This is the only royal oak I have. It's a golden oak. I could make it into a standard one if I just get a replacement bezel, but I wouldn't have a bracelet for it. I have no idea if this watch works or not. None. No idea in the slightest. And we're gonna find out. I'm curious. I'm not gonna leave a battery in it. I'm just gonna open it up and see if it'll fire off for us. Got any action? No timekeeping. It is 100% dead. Wow, that's crazy. So what I would do at this point, if I'm curious about this, is I would go and let's pull that stem. Well, okay, so there we go. Here's our 7A38 movement out. And it's got a brand new battery in it. Nothing is moving. So you got your 4 clickers over here. I'm just not seeing anything. Isn't that crazy? The circuit must be bad. Make sure these clickers are clicking. Make sure this clicker is clicking. I mean, it looks intact. So it should be ticking over right now. I would have a hard time believing that all 4 coils are bad, and it doesn't look like water got in, so I wouldn't expect the circuit to be bad. So I got no timekeeping. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this hand, I'm just going to move it. Very, very careful. Kicking that train around, seeing if I can get it to do that. This movement is really, really, really dirty. So I know my circuit works. Let's try this. Let's see if we can get the chronograph to fire off. It's trying. And again, I'm going to nudge this hand. And since I know this one was also not moving, yeah, wow, I can actually feel how gummy and gluey it is. See if we can get this thing to kick over. So that's the other thing. If you can't, the coil's good and you can get it to move, you got to make sure that the circuit is working and the train is good, and you do that by getting it to kick over manually like so. This movement terribly needs service. Okay, we didn't see any movement out of that one there. So let's stop. Oh my goodness gracious. And now let's reset. Now we're going to pull one click out. And I'm going to push and hold. Not seeing anything on this one. I'm not seeing any movement on the part of that hand. So what I just did was basically go through and I checked the movement of every register. I now know I've got a question mark on that one, on that coil for that register. All the other ones appear to be alive. They're just gummed up and the watch needs service, and that's it. So hopefully that was instructive. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties.
Peter Chalice 2294. The guy from the old Maxwell advertising was Pete Murphy from the goth rock band Bauhaus. They were great.
I did not know that.
You didn't?
No.
I knew that.
I grew up. This is an ad. This is a famous magazine ad. You'll remember, and it's a guy sitting low in a chair from the side like this, getting blasted backwards by the stereo on the other wall. And I've known it my whole life. I did not know it was Peter Murphy.
I knew it was someone. I couldn't remember who until I read that, and I was like, oh, right.
I'd be curious to find out the story of how that happened.
I don't know it.
I don't either.
Carlos Paggi. I remember the Maxwell adverts and always thought what a super cool chair the guy was sitting in, designed by, I don't speak French.
Corbusier.
Well, 40 years on, and I've just bought one along with 2 compact sodas. Dreams can come true, so maybe I'll have an MM300 too one day. Great video as always. Thanks a lot. P.S. I'm also an advocate for turning my teas inside out. I guess I just wasn't doing that because I thought that having the right way meant that the outside was getting cleaner. But
Wouldn't you want the inside cleaner?
I get paint and everything all over myself.
Oh, my cat.
I do hang dry my favorite shirt, which is my Unknown Mortal Orchestra one, because it's actually really well made, unlike most. Oh, who's a dirty girl? The kitty's rolling around in the dirt. Do you feel better?
Okay, was
Sorry.
there a question?
Oh, no, he was just talking about that ad. Sorry, I got distracted by the cat and her beauty.
Oh, okay, well, that's fine. Let's undistract.
Where the hell are they going? KDW's overdue review. The Leisure 7500 Poor Man's Hoyer. Daniel 635-bit turbo. Biturbo?
Biturbo.
Biturbo. At first I thought it said burrito. When we were driving back from Denver, I saw a billboard that said, a burrito is just a little donkey, and that's funny.
Oh.
What?
That is funny.
I don't know.
Like burro, but with the Ito end?
Yes.
Yes.
It was when we were leaving, like, coming by Mile High. It was up there, and I was like, LOL, but I didn't say anything because I didn't feel like getting a Spanish lesson from my children. So, and then I forgot. What? Anyway, nice to see I got a well-running one about 8 years ago for €300. A black PVD coated one with a bit more wear than yours. It's one of my favorites. Worth mentioning is they should have a low beat 21,600 movement. That's a big number. Did I read that right?
Yeah. Are you sure? I thought they were 28.8.
I don't know.
I thought they were 28.8. I'm gonna check it. I was pretty sure it was 28.8, and I was correct. These things are, they're a low high beat, but they're high beat. See, I've been gaining this watch. I've gained about. There's no way I've been gaining 12 seconds a day. I just don't believe that that's correct. But I'm gonna go in and adjust that and make it all nice again. Now that it's all running, and there's the movement. And a little bit of adjusting later. I gotta gain a little bit on that. These are cool because they have a really nice fine adjust. That little wiggler right there, that little wiggler. They dial in really nicely. Okay, I'm gonna.
And as I understand it, were built out of overstocked movements during the early days of the quartz crisis.
I've heard a bit about because they were made and sold in starting in that ad in camera magazines and stuff like that. Like you look at the ads in the back pages, and I remember seeing some of them, and they were being sold in the late 70s and the early 80s, which is when that would be a real hardship time. I mean, for why would anybody get a mechanical chronograph when you could get a brand new, super cool LCD digital chronograph? And that was the, the way of things. Yeah, they are. Let me see that really quick.
Oh, I scrolled down.
As soon as hopefully I'll remember, I'm going to cut the video right here. And then I will put in a segment.
Well, they already saw the segment, if you remembered.
Oh, I did. Well, I will have to, because I'm going to find that break in the video.
Okay. The overdue review, Seiko SPB 14764MAS. Bozosny? Man, that was a nice presentation.
Thank you.
I have one of these secondhand on the way. I hope that I will not have to mess with regulation. Please leave some feedback. As for the details you mentioned, I agree almost to everything. Almost. For the crown, I certainly prefer no sign than the plain S, but I would love it if it was signed with a Seiko. And for the handset, I really wish, and I cannot understand why they didn't, had the one half brushed and the other half polished. It's an exceptional dial and also helps with the hand's visibility.
Yeah, They did it, the way that those hands looked is they had brushed surfaces and then polished bevels. And so it really was like this high contrast. It looked really cool. Okay.
How to install a bracelet on a 6130-96005. Tactical Truth 8118. Thank you, Spencer. Appreciate all the great tutorials. Question, I have a 6139-7039 and want to upgrade my period correct but not original bracelet for a modern Seiko bracelet like a King Seiko KS 1969 or Prospect Speed Timer SRQ047, both of which are 19mm. Assuming I could get one of these bracelets, can I just swap it on to the 6139-7039 as is, or do I need to use the original end links? Many thanks.
Well, the original end links on those, Seiko's bracelets and their end links, they changed them all the time. They would make similar versions of bracelets with only tiny changes for similar watches or completely dissimilar watches, and the parts won't exchange. They might even look the same, but they won't exchange. So it's really hard to fit these cases. That one, I think, is a semi-hooded lug. So as long as it's 19mm wide, you can put a bar end across it and just put it in. If you're trying to use a fitted end link, I think that's going to be really challenging. It would have to be specifically made for that watch, I would think. I think if you just sort of, buy and hope that it's going to be correct when it comes in, more than likely you're going to be disappointed. Lord knows I have been many times in the past. That should fit. That should fit great. No, it did not fit at all. And, I guess the most I could say is that if it's a 19mm bar end, it'll slot right in there. You might not like the look of that, though, but that, I think, is the only way.
Sold Seiko 6139-6002 automatic chronograph. Andrew Barnes 5802. Beautiful looking watch, Spencer. Nice work. I'm looking at getting one of these. Can you tell me what the difference between this and the watch with the water 70-meter resist dial, please?
The only difference is the dial text. Yeah, that's it.
Which one's worth more?
I don't know the answer to that. They did make them, they were made in proof resist and no text dials.
Mm-hmm. What's the most sought after?
Well, the proof is the rarest one. For a long time, people thought that, at first people were like, the silver dial was completely made up. It's not a real
watch.
Yeah, it's not real. It was never a model. And then the evidence just was too overwhelming. There's just no way to really deny the truth of it. Too many of them were found. They were in the same, they were all in the correct condition for themselves. They were clearly unrestored watches. We found, I found myself some original advertisement catalog material that showed a two-tone. Unfortunately, it's in black and white, so you can't tell if it's gold or that's the garbage, by the way.
Well, not our garbage.
I couldn't tell if it was the gold or the silver, but it clearly was a thing. But then, so people were like, okay, fine, the silver dial existed, but no one's ever seen a proof. That also was proven to be false. So, proofs are the rarest to see, especially if you can find a proof that's got the two-piece stick hand. That'd be really neat. In terms of, I think I've seen the no text dial the second least. The 70 meter resist, I see a lot of them. And I think that was kind of the high point of when they were being made. I'm not real up on the distribution graph of production K-spec dates data on that. If anybody knows, please let me know.
Sorry. The overdue review, Redune 6105 8000 homage. To Catherine 9126. I just got a brand new Redune 6105 8000. The sapphire glass is now clear instead of having a blue tint, and there are 4 dots on either side of the pip. But one thing they changed that disappointed me is the hands. In the original version, they were brushed on top and polished on the bevels, which gave them a surprising complexity. However, in the new version, the hands are entirely polished. As a result, the beveled edges are completely visually lost, and I wasn't sure it had any until I took out a magnifier. But maybe the original has all polished hands and I never noticed it. Or perhaps it was a cost-cutting measure on their part. Otherwise, the fit and finish is excellent and perhaps more refined than the first version.
I don't know the answer to your question, but I do have a Redune, their new 6105 8110. So let me pull it out and we'll look at it. Let's find out together. Here's this new Redune, and you can see the hands are all the high polish. I don't have an example of the earlier hand style you're talking about, but this is correct for Seiko. This is what Seiko had. They were all high polish. I'm with you. I love the way the brushed hands look. This limited edition, baby, limited edition Marine Master, 300 meter diver with the 8L35. And you can see the brushed surfaces of the hands. If I can get in there. And it's a really nice detail, and it makes them super legible, and it gives just interesting detail to the dial and everything. This is going to be available for sale, by the way. Okay.
Okay. This is the last one.
Oh.
4SS Seiko 6105 8000 with Vietnam history evaluation. Biff Tannen BTTF. Wait, aren't there resist-proof versions of this watch that came from the factory like that? And they would have the 6105B movements too, like this one.
Now, you see, this is something people have been talking about for a while. I've never really addressed it in any way. Not that anybody's been waiting for me to address anything. But I've never said anything about it because I haven't seen anything about it. I know that there are, in my world, as far as I know, for things that I've seen and can absolutely verify and tell you for a fact are most likely true, are the things that I've seen is that proof goes with proof and resist goes with resist or resistant. I can't ever remember. I can't ever remember getting a watch where I said this thing is completely original, and it had a dial that was a resist and the back was a proof, where it was clearly that way. I would think that I would remember that, but you know, how can we know that we forgot something if we don't remember it?
That was very philosophical.
Well, you know, that's philosophy is my middle name.
Yes.
Oh, and it starts with a PH, just like Fippen. I should change my middle name to philosophy. Wouldn't that be cool?
No.
What? Sure it would.
Oh, you're silly.
Oh, I know. But I'm sorry, back to the question at hand, which I just forgot.
Jeez, I'm trying to do something unimportant.
You're playing Crystal Kingdom.
No, I'm not.
Or whatever the heck it is. If somebody has, okay, having proof resist. So if somebody has any data for this, any kind of documentation for that, I'd love to hear it. You know, the 60, I'm open to this. I just need to see the data. Like I'm the one that discovered the 6139 North American notch resist.
Well, yeah, so it proves that, like, anything is a possibility. So
And-
saying for sure, no, there's...
Right.
Right.
Right. I've just never seen anything that says that it's true. I'm not saying it's not. That model 6139, the old timers were like, no, no, no. That
doesn't matter.
exist. That model didn't exist. And I found, me personally, I found the ad, big 1970 ad, the automation age watch. And it had, five or six model lines top to bottom. And the one in the middle is the 6139 with a notch case, and you can see it says resist. And so anything is possible. So I'd love to know more. When I pull that watch apart, I'll be very curious to see the dial date. The last time I saw a watch with this kind of a mismatch, which was only a couple of weeks ago, the dial was undated on the back. And I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
I don't know. It was kind of trippy. Okay. Well, I don't think we got any more questions then?
No.
Okay. Well, hey, thank you so much for sitting all through this video. And if you're still here with us, I thank you so much. It's so important to Sabrina and myself to have your continued support, and I never take it for granted. Okay. And that's about it. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Bye.